The morning sun rose over Umuekiko, painting the red earth with golden light. Villagers went about their usual business, women carrying yams to the market, children running to fetch water, men tending to their farms. That peaceful rhythm was broken when three sleek black SUVs rumbled into the village square. The vehicle stopped, and three men stepped out, dressed in sharp robes, their presence commanding attention. Behind them, a small group of unfamiliar people followed, looking serious and alert. Chidera, a young man of 23, wiped his hands on his wrapper and watched with curiosity. Who are these men? He wondered, as the pastors, later to be called Papa Kubi, Prophet Kawo, and Reverend Maki, raised their hands. A hush fell over the crowd. Their voices carried over the square, promising solutions to every problem: sickness, debt, infertility, and even misfortune. The villagers listened, spellbound. Chidera felt a twinge of excitement. Perhaps these men could really help. By evening, a small crowd had gathered at the temporary platform the pastors had set up. Papa Kubi spoke first, claiming that the villagers' problems were caused by spiritual oppression. Prophet Kawo and Reverend Maki assisted, leading prayers and lifting the hands of the people. A woman approached crying, her child sick for weeks. The pastors laid hands on her, whispered words she could barely hear, and declared her child healed. The woman fell to her knees in gratitude, shouting, "Thank you, my spiritual fathers." Chidera too felt hope swelling inside him. The child did not immediately stir, but the villagers assumed the miracle had occurred. Everyone believed these men were indeed solution to their problems. While walking home that night, Chidera met an elderly man sitting by the roadside. His white beard gleamed in the moonlight. "Young man," the elder said, "I am serious. Beware of following the god of any man. Seek the God you know for yourself." Chidera frowned. "But sir, these pastors, they have come to help our village. Surely they know God." The old man shook his head. "You will see in time. Remember my words." Chidera returned home puzzled. He tried to understand the elder's meaning, but could not. For now, the pastor's promises seemed genuine. In the days that followed, the pastors held morning and evening prayers. Wives like Adeze and Efoma began calling them Papa and my spiritual leader, while neglecting their husbands in small subtle ways. Husbands worked tirelessly on their farms, yet were ignored in favor of the pastor's teachings. Villagers borrowed money to attend early morning breakthroughs and late-night vigils, trusting that the pastors would bless them with prosperity. Chidera followed along, believing as everyone else did. Weeks passed, and the village grew accustomed to the pastor's presence. Market days changed to accommodate prayer times. Children's chores were postponed for nightly vigils. Even Chidera noticed that more and more villagers were struggling with small debts, but he attributed it to investing in blessings. The pastors encouraged offerings, claiming the more a person gave, the greater their blessings. Chidera felt conflicted but trusted in their guidance. By now, early morning prayers had become a ritual in Umuekiko. Villagers, even those who were once skeptical, gathered at the pastor's platform before sunrise. Adeze, a farmer's wife, knelt before Papa Kubi, her forehead pressed to the dirt. "Thank you, my spiritual father," she whispered, ignoring her husband who stood behind her, tired from tending the cassava farm. Chidera watched quietly, uneasy. Something felt wrong. but he dismissed it as the excitement of faith. Families began borrowing from neighbors and distant relatives to contribute to the pastor's offerings. Chidera noticed that some men were already struggling to feed their children, yet they still gave, believing blessings would follow. One evening, Chidera saw a young man collapse from exhaustion in the prayer crowd. Prophet Kawo waved over him, saying, "The Spirit is working." The crowd cheered, but Chidera wondered why the man looked more drained than healed. The pastor's influence spread beyond Umuekiko. Neighboring villages sent delegations to witness the miracles. Villagers left their local churches, convinced that these men had power over every misfortune. Chidera still remembered the old man's words. "Seek the God you know for yourself." He didn't understand them yet. Some inconsistencies began to appear. Some supposedly healed individuals returned the next day, complaining of the same ailments. Chidera noticed unfamiliar faces in the crowd, people he had never seen in Umuekiko before, standing close to the pastors during miracles. He felt a small tug of doubt, but he realized it. Perhaps these are helpers sent from afar to witness God's work. Family life began to shift. Women like Ifoma now greeted their husbands with a nod, but reserved their warmest praise for the pastors. Meals were skipped for prayer meetings. Farm work delayed, and villagers grew increasingly indebted. Chidera's friend Nnamdi boasted, "I am blessed already. My debts will disappear soon." Chidera nodded, though deep inside unease was growing. Umuekiko's rhythm changed completely. Market days were shifted. Farm work was abandoned at times, and children often dozed in class after long vigils. The pastors encouraged all of this, declaring, "Seek the kingdom first, and every other thing shall follow." Chidera noticed his own mother now rushed from kitchen to prayer ground, leaving food half-cooked. He sighed, but he did not complain. Everyone was in agreement. These men were God sent. One afternoon, Chidera overheard a quarrel. Obinna, a hard-working farmer, confronted his wife Adizi. "You knew to greet Papa Kubi, yet you call me by my name like a stranger." Adizi snapped back. "Stop your jealousy. Don't you see he carries our blessings? If not for him, your farm would be cursed." The argument ended with Adizi storming off to evening prayers. Obinna sat alone, his head in his hands. Chidera walked past quietly, disturbed. During one fiery service, Reverend Maki declared, "Within 7 days, death shall vanish, businesses shall flourish, your cross will multiply." The crowd shouted, "Amen!" Villagers sold goats, yams, and palm oil just to sow seeds of faith. Chidera too gave from his small savings. At first, he felt hopeful, but a week later, he noticed nothing had changed. If anything, the market seemed emptier, and neighbors whispered about debt piling up. One evening, Chidera noticed a group of strangers arriving with the pastors. They were not from Umuekiko. He was certain of that. They mingled only with the pastors and rarely spoke to villagers. "Who are they?" Chidera asked Nnamdi. "They must be special guests from the city." Nnamdi replied confidently, "Great works are happening here." Chidera nodded slowly, though his curiosity burned. Something about their presence felt out of place. Late at night, Chidera once again encountered the old man sitting by the moonlit path. "Young man," the elder said quietly, "I see your heart is restless." Chidera hesitated. "I don't understand. Everyone believes these men. Even I believe. But why do things feel heavier in our village? The elder's eyes softened. Because what shines is not always light. Do not forget my ways. Seek the God you know yourself. Chidera went home more troubled than before. The seed of doubt was planted, but he still joined the crowd at dawn. Word spread quickly. Soon, people from neighboring villages streamed into Umuekiko to attend the crusades. The village square swelled with visitors. Market women smiled, thinking business would increase. But instead, people spent all they had on offerings to the pastors. Papa Kubi thundered from the stage. This village would be the center of revival in the land. The crowd roared. Chidera clapped too, though his heart wasn't as light as before. When prayers and crusades grew larger, funds began to shrink. Men were too weary from night vigils to tend their fields. Women often skipped harvesting days to attend women's deliverance services. Chidera walked past his uncle's yam farm one morning and found wheat sprouted everywhere. A once hard-working family now struggled to find food. Yet, whenever hunger struck, the pastors told them, "It is a test of faith. Sow more and you shall reap abundantly." And the villagers obeyed. At one crusade, a man arrived limping, supported by two strangers. The pastors prayed, and suddenly he dropped his stick and ran across the stage. The crowd erupted in shouts of miracle. Chidera was swept up in the excitement, but later that night, as he walked past the back of the stage, he noticed those same strangers laughing quietly with the pastors. He paused, puzzled, but brushed it aside. Surely it is nothing, he told himself. The promises of wealth and healing did not seem to last. A mother who claimed her blind son had been healed admitted days later that his sight had not returned. Families sank into debt, selling chickens, goats, and even farmland. Still, no one dared to doubt. Anyone who raised questions was quickly silenced by the crowd. Touch not the anointed of God. Chidera felt torn. His faith in the pastors was weakening, but he didn't want to be seen as rebellious. By now, the strain in homes was undeniable. Obinna, Adeze's husband, grew thinner by the day. His wife often left him hungry at night while she cooked for crusade gatherings. Once, he muttered bitterly to Chidera, "They call me by my name, but kneel for strange men. What kind of home is this?" Chidera felt sympathy but remained silent. He remembered the old man's ways again, and for the first time, he felt a deep unease gnaw at him. The pastors announced a grand deliverance crusade that would gather not just Umuekiko, but all surrounding villages. Reverend Maki declared, "This night will be the greatest proof of God's power in this land. Bring your sick, your lame, your blind. Miracles shall overflow." The whole village buzzed with excitement. Men borrowed money, women sold jewelry, all to prepare seed offerings for the big night. Even Chidera could not hide his eagerness. Families gave everything. Goods were sold, barns emptied, and debt mounted higher. Obinna pleaded with his wife Adeze not to give away their last bag of rice, but she hissed, "Do you want to block my blessings?" Papa Kubi said, "Sacrifice must pain you before heaven releases rain." Chidera watched as neighbors praised her faith, but Obinna's eyes told another story, one of quiet suffering. On the night of the crusade, Chidera felt a restlessness he couldn't explain. As the pastors prepared on stage, he excused himself to release himself behind the crusade stand. But as he approached, hushed voices caught his attention. He stopped, and what he saw made his blood run cold. Behind the stage, The strangers he had noticed before were being coached by one of the pastors. "You pretend you cannot walk. We will pray, and you will rise. You cover your eyes with this cloth. When the prayer ends, shout that you can see." Then you, Papa Kubi, pointed to another. "The moment I start to cast demons, fall to the ground, and Reverend Maki will bring out a pussy cat from his pocket as the demon casted out from you." Chidera's heart pounded. These were not villagers. They were outsiders, actors. He crouched in the shadows, trembling, as Papa Kubi handed them money. "Make it convincing," the pastor warned. "We cannot afford mistakes tonight." Chidera felt his words spin. So, the miracles were lies all along. Shaken, Chidera stumbled back to the crowd. But the sound of the elder's voice echoed in his mind. "Do not seek the God of any man. Seek the one you know yourself." He could hardly breathe as the pastors came on stage, fire in their voices, declaring the power of God. The crowd cheered, unaware of what Chidera had just seen. He looked around at the faces of his people, hopeful, desperate, trusting, and his chest tightened. For the first time, Chidera realized he was standing at a crossroads. All through the crusade, Chidera could not clap. He watched as a man rose from his wheelchair, exactly as he had seen Riaz behind the stage. The crowd erupted, crying and kneeling before the pastors. Chidera's stomach turned. He thought of the old man, of Obina's hunger, of his mother's weary eyes. If only they knew the truth, he whispered, but he dared not speak. Fear of being branded a rebel held him silent. The pastors grew bolder. They commanded families to bring their last possessions. "Give your lands, give your animals, give your good. Heaven demands sacrifice before it releases power," Papa Kubi shouted. And the villagers obeyed. Chidera's friend Namdi sold even his father's farmland, convinced his blessings were near. The more the people gave, the emptier their homes became. Yet, the pastors only smiled, growing fatter by the day. Papa Kubi lifted his staff and declared, "Tonight, fire will fall on witches in this land." But when they lit the ritual fire with hidden charms, something went wrong. Instead of a controlled blaze, the flames leapt wildly, catching the stage cloths. Drums fell, chairs toppled, and in seconds, the entire platform was burning. People screamed and scattered. The pastors shouted prayers, but their power could not quench the fire. In the chaos, Chidera's eyes caught what many others also saw. The so-called healed lame man, forgetting his act, ran without limping to escape the flames. Another woman, who had regained her sight, grabbed a stick to guide herself through the smoke. Gasps filled the crowd. Whispers turned to shouts. "They deceived us. These men are liars." Someone even dragged a half-burnt bag from the pastor's tent. It was filled with money collected as offerings. The truth could no longer be hidden. The next morning, Umuekiko was silent. Families sat in shame, realizing their farms were gone, their savings wasted, their homes broken. Chidera remembered the old man's words once more. This time he understood. He told his friends quietly, "Never again shall I follow the God of another man's mouth. From now, I will seek him for myself." One by one, others nodded. Even Daisy, who once knelt before the pastors, went to Ubina in tears and begged for forgiveness. The false pastors fled, leaving behind smoke, hunger, and death, but also a lesson the village would never forget. From that day, Umuekiko people began to rebuild, Many went back to their local churches. They now realized it is not by chasing after men, but by seeking God with their own hearts. Moral of the story: do not build your faith on the words or miracles of men. For many who wear the cloak of godliness hide deceit in their hearts. True strength is found when you seek God for yourself, not through the spectacles of those who exploit His name. When people blindly follow men, they lose their homes, their peace, and even their dignity. But when they seek the living God with sincerity, no deception can shake them. If this story has blessed your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Zenastories24 for more life-changing tales.
Zena, bringing you amazing life stories. Stay tuned.